something I'm super frustrated about, or I get really frustrated about, is when people say they want something and then they don't do anything about it. Or, it can be even as simple as the car needs fixing. We've had that in our relationship a lot with my partner. And nothing gets done, still isn't fixed. But then every time we drive, he gets anxious. And he says oh, but what if the car breaks down? I'm like, well, so far we've been doing quite well. But we also know something needs fixing. So if you keep being afraid, then why don't you just call the garage and put the car in? So this would be so simple, right? But it's been going on, and we all have this in some areas in life where we kind of play out this dynamic where we say, we know kind of the solution. There's only usually a few opportunities, sometimes even more. But in that case, it's very simple. It's like either you don't bring it to the garage because it's just not as important, but then you have to deal with your emotions of being anxious, even though you rationally know nothing's gonna, be bad, and we have breakdown cover just in case. It's gonna think it's a minor thing, right? Don't worry about us. But so this is one thing. You don't fix it, but you handle your emotions around it, or you immediately call the garage and go for it and fix it. Well, why hasn't that happened yet is because the money situation. So that then comes with a different conversation. Suddenly it's not about the car anymore. Suddenly it's about the money. So can you see how people often avoid doing things they say they need to do, or just out of avoidance to actually look what's really underneath. And this is something I can get quite frustrated with, because I'm very practical. I'm like, okay, solution here, do it or don't do it, but then don't keep complaining about it. That's most of the frustration. I hate the complaining when there is a solution. What I have a lot of compassion for, though, is when there's self-sabotage and there's unconscious behavior underneath it. And obviously in these scenarios there usually is. So the thing is, though, we want to shift from feeling unable to capable of taking back the sovereign choices of our lives. And this is why this application is called Sovereign. It is all about remembering. Everything I write or teach about can be super practical, and even though it's very mystical, this is, for me, it's the mystical, the mythic and mystical and magical road back to reality. So we move into the mysterious, or mystery of life. We work with the myth as meaning making, and also I give you practical magic to apply, which then often comes down to a situation exactly like that, where me and my partner sit in the car, he gets a bit anxious about it again, and I'm like, well, you can either handle your emotions about it, or we can fix it and somehow manage to get the money together. But we will be able to work through it somehow. And then staying calm in these moments and seeing how, wow, okay, everything I've done and in my work leads up to fuel these moments in real life to either be less challenging or more curious, invite us to become more mature, and that is literal transformation. Or we resolve conflicts with our neighbors, or we enhance our life through the way we look, through the lens we look at life in general, and how we build in daily rituals or routines around what we truly desire and want to create and enchant our lives. So this is part of the mythical work that I do with the archetypes of Avon, for example, where I bring in the archetypes to help you activate those parts within you, because we are all characters in a myth. So this is why I love working with myth, because I can tell one story, and which I've told for nearly a decade, and I can repeatedly tell this story, and it will trigger other parts in people. And every time they hear it, it will be because as we are made out of stories, and we keep telling stories in this world, and they are so crucial, and they're so beautiful. And once we realize that we are all characters in them, we can truly use them as divination tools. We don't even need many of them. We can use the same again in different situations in life. We will interpret different things or hear different parts. So that's a really wonderful and powerful way. But these stories always come back to my faith, which is the sovereign path of Avalon. it's a goddess tradition, but truly everyone can practice it because it comes down to the mother, the creator of life, to the divine source that is found in the elements and in nature. But that is my path, and that's what I bring it down to. And so these archetypes and these stories come from this lineage, but they inform me about whatever has been also in our Western indigenous spiritual roots. Matrifocal, matrilineal cultures, be them matriarchic even, it doesn't matter, but it was a time of what Rihanna Elsa calls partnership society versus the dominating society, so dominance versus partnership, collaboration versus violence, right? And this is something that I draw the information on, which I think is really dating us back to our roots and our hearts, and gives us the way forward, because this is about the theme of Back to the Future. We reach back, but I cannot not just to inform ourselves, see what's possible, break through the illusions, the conditioning that we have grown up, and then bring that into our now contemporary life, because we're not gonna not acknowledge that we have changed and that there was violence and dominance and colonization and witch hunts. So the thing is, and also that is our ancestry as white people, as white Western people. We have both the good and bad within us, which again is why I love the religions and Babylonian myth, because that's exactly what it says in the elucidation. A myth I've been retelling a lot, which is one of those stories that I keep repeatedly come back to. And it says we are the descendants of the well-maidens, the otherworldly creatures, the fae, the peaceful partnership societies, and the harmful, violent ones that harmed them, those that acted out of greed, those that destroyed the nature, right? We're descendants from both. And so from here on then, we want to look into the future and see, okay, how can this inform us the way we create now? We follow our faith, we practice our ceremonies, we facilitate spaces for others and for ourselves, and ultimately, how does this inform me in my day-to-day life and in these small little moments? Because those are, the sum of those is what makes your life. And when you have children, you understand that everything you do, they don't necessarily pay so much attention to what you say, but what you do, and if that's incongruence. And so the way we raise our kids, that's exactly where we should find our answers as well. So these little mundane moments count, they're important, otherwise we're spiritually bypassing and not acknowledging the way. So this is especially important nowadays because we live in the spiritual bypassing epoch, so to say, through our conditioning and internalized patriarchic and capitalist dynamics. Spiritual materialism is happening, and also avoidance of emotions, because that's just something that through the disconnect between ourselves and nature and our families, our communities, our natural heart-led centered way of living for the last centuries, millennia even now, the resurfing of spiritual traditions and even indigenous traditions can lead to spiritual bypassing, because when we're not looking at these internalized dynamics, they're just being put on top, and then you just have different names for it. You can describe in a different language what you have, but you still don't change anything. It's like when people are diagnosed with ADHD, great, they've got a language for their flaws or their issues that can be really serious, but that then often means they just use this to excuse themselves for changing, because even if there's severe health issues, even if it's DNA related or just habitual, because it's just, we know the rise in ADHD because of the phone, so there's also habitual parts of that. And when you have that language for it, you could either say, okay, now I'm going to do something about it, I'm going to ditch the phone, or I'm going to look into how I can reprogram my brain, or how I can actually work on my physical, like again, even like DNA can change, right? It's fascinating what's out there. There's possibilities, and there's psychosomatics as well. Or we can say, well, now I know what I am and I identify with this and I'm not going to do anything about it. And I can tell my friends all the time, yeah, oh, I'm sorry I was too late, or sorry this, sorry that, it's because I've got ADHD. So this is what we do in the spiritual scene too. It's like with astrology, it's like, oh, it's because I'm a Gemini. or oh, he's a narcissist, I'm an empath. These are real things, but without proper context and looking at the conditioning where we're coming from, they actually can cause as much harm as what we've lived in before. So this is a big part of why I'm doing what I do, to help you change, to help you embrace change, to help you love change and value the transformation and magic, and not only in a way to escape, because of course it can enchant our lives, and it should, but the enchantment comes for us to feel like we're thriving again in life. And that's my aim. I help you enchant your life and follow the calling, but not in a way that has you compartmentalize your spirituality and feel like you can only, when you're like dressed as a priestess holding ceremonies, you are the priestess. No, you're a priestess as a mother, you're a priestess as a partner, you're a priestess as the supermarket cashier or whatever job you have. That's when you are still a priestess. And it's really important to reclaim this if this is the title you're claiming. It doesn't have to be, by the way, no matter what facilitator you are. But this is the dynamic behind it. And it's very, very important that we also, again, acknowledge where we come from. This is why I'm saying back to the future, because all the conditioning, all these internalized dynamics, we have to look back to then be able to build a foundation now, in our now time, for the future that raises the 7 generations after us. It's so exciting. I love this work. I really, really do love it. And integration is a big part that I just want to touch on as well. And when you think about plant ceremonies and how people love to have these experiences because they connect them to the magic, be that, a ceremony, an Apollonian visual journey, vision journey, drumming. Usually these experiences we have in a group, also with psychedelics or psychoactive plants, that we finally feel the call, right? We hear it, we can sense it stir in our bones, we can have a tangible measurement of or a sensation of magic. And that is what is our true nature. What we think though, what people think is because they haven't grown up with this, me included. I was numb for so many times, for years. I was medicated for a decade, nearly died in the process, and had epilepsy, and was very heady, very disconnected from my body. So I know how that feels, and I know it's a long way, it can be a long way back, but it is possible. It's not a death sentence. Again, I developed a really strong sense of intuition, but I never thought it was possible. And know exactly how to discern it from three other voices. Anyway, it's another time, and another story for another time. But I ended up free birthing my son, even though I used to be really reliant and dependent on hospitals and medical system. And now I just trust my body and life and nature so much that we ended up with the title of sovereign and the Substack, right? And I want to help you reclaim that too for you. But what I'm saying is, really, these experiences are crucial. They're wonderful experiences that show us our true nature and what's truly possible. And it's possible without plants. And this is something that people often forget. They think they need another ceremony, another plant, another substance to feel that again. When truly they long for this feeling, and the longing is important, the calling is important, and also having this experience to activate it, to first of all tell your brain it's possible. That's huge. Then you want to start integrating. What has this lesson taught you? What has it brought up? Where did it sit in your body? How can you activate these feelings without relying on external substances or people, even in ceremonies? How can you bring that magic into the mundane, that sacred into the mundane? That's the bridge. That's what I'm here to bridge as a priestess. Between divine, earth, ascending, descending, we're coming back in a spiral. It's all connected. And I'm really happy that you found your way here, and it seems if you've listened to this video and watched this video until now, you're definitely not shying away from confrontation, from looking at your blind spots, from being ambitious about transformation, probably having the core value of transformation and magic within you that you carry with you. And that makes me so happy, because that's the people who change the world. And also, if you're like me and had a slight anxious attachment history maybe with relationships, then bear in mind you are the born leader, because you know when you have been dependent and you've not felt sovereign for a time, you know how it is to look out for others, to look away from yourself. So when you then come back to yourself and you look from within, you haven't lost the ability to think for others, help others, to not think for others, but think about others, think about the world and the external. But when you come from within, this is when you start leading, and you can stand back and help people, bring them, like me, through their journey, help them to reclaim their sovereignty. So not anything that you're going through is, it's an ultimatum that necessarily you hold the power to frame it. Even if your circumstances are to blame, you can take responsibility for change and to come within, to then enchant the you without.